go ahead and get started with everyone that's on here right now. We have David Chen from LabWorks. We have Michael Roman from Two River Labs, Antonio Frazier from CANaSafe, Josh Werzer from SE Labs, Sean Orlowitz from Dominex, Zach Eisenberg from Enresco, and Josh Meager from Infinite Cal. And Bruce Godfrey just hopped on. Got everyone that I was looking for, that I needed some input on for the meeting today. So thank you guys very much for getting on the call. We've had a lot of discussion and planning going on, sort of behind the scenes regarding our annual meeting, which hopefully will be moving forward in California. I guess I should start by asking you guys if you have any input on how likely things are to stay open in California right now. How any rumors or thoughts you're hearing?
I hear it's just getting worse down in San Diego.
I mean, my understanding is going to start requiring vaccines to be outside pretty much. I mean, I just had to download my digital vaccine record to have it available as I travel. So it sounds like it's going to be just, if you're vaccinated, you can do things. If not, they're going to, I don't know, be after you, it seems to be.
Yeah, it seems like people are moving more that way in a lot of different areas. I know my son just signed up for a Made in America concert out here in over Labor Day weekend, and they're requiring masks, proof of vaccination, or a negative COVID test within 48 hours to get in the door. So it looks like that's the way that people are moving, a lot of different directions with, you know, as long as we can still meet, then I'm good with that.
Yeah, I can tell you too, because I watch what Danaher does, because you know they're Fortune 100 and they own Phenomenex, and they tend to have their finger on the pulse. I'm convinced they have a team of 50 people that do nothing but watch the stats. And what they're telling us is it's okay to travel to geographies that don't require vaccination proofs, but it's not okay to travel to those places that don't. So for example, I'm going to a scientific conference in person in Boston, but we can't get together in Los Angeles County, whatever that means. Really? So, we did get an update today, and it looks like at least LA County, and I can't tax for San Diego, is showing improvements. So whatever that means.
Okay.
If you have that crystal ball, Shannon, I want access to it.
No one can predict. Hopefully, I hope to see you all in person in October, and obviously, you know, that's what we're working toward here. But we'll of course let you know if we're hearing anything else, and you know, roll with the punches, however they come out over the next few months. So our plan is still to hold the panel on Tuesday during the Long Beach annual meeting conference. That will be the broader ACIL group. That will be the cannabis working group meeting on the morning of Tuesday, October 12th. I'll have Antonio talk a little bit more about the consultant that he has spoken to regarding helping out for that. Wednesday, we're still looking to be at CANaSafe in Van Nuys, and having probably more of a targeted California group at that meeting, and follow it up with hopefully a fundraiser that we can use to raise some more money for California Cannabis Working Group out there. But one of the primary things that I wanted to do with the group here today is first of all to talk about the consultant and to agree on whether we want to move forward with her or not, because that's something that we need to get the ball rolling on quickly so that she can do her job and help us out and get the work done for that. And then we wanted to talk a little bit more about the continued round robin activities with the group. So Antonio, if I could turn it over to you first to talk a little bit about Miko. Is that how you say it? Because I know I've only seen it via email. So.
Yep, that is correct. So yeah, so to give an update on where we are with the content for what we're trying to put together, you know, this could potentially be for Long Beach or the Valley of Van Nuys, wherever else our second day location is. the doctors or MDs that would be associated are based in Long Beach, so they prefer, and some of them are older, one of them particularly, not trying to drive up, hour and some change with LA traffic. So that being said, this will be curated through Miko Hester Perez. I heard the bio. I sent the clip of her bio over to the group or for Shannon to share. She's worked with CANSAFE directly in the past, as well as several other groups, brands. She diagnosed her son, had autism. He's passed now, but she was one of the first parents to publicly diagnose their child. Has been all over national TV, global TV, very popular, but focused in healthcare. And essentially what this opportunity for us would be, because we work with these doctors, I'll just be full disclosure, we work with these doctors. Some of them have been on our blogs, but what they're concerned is that we don't want to work with just one lab. We want to work with a multitude of labs. We want to work with clean data in general, not just one person particularly generating it. So they've always challenged me to say, hey, if you can get together a group of labs, we'll show up, we'll put our name on it, and we'll also be, a resource for you all to use. So that being said, Miko is a gatekeeper to all this. So the fee associated with Miko would be to bring together these sets of doctors and MDs that could then hopefully attract our regulators and other people in industry to the event, whether it be in Long Beach or not. But the conversation I was hoping would be focused on, and they are hoping to focus it on some of the stuff that we did with the lab. I haven't shared the data, but I told them that we did some shelf, some testing off the shelf, and they were very interested. They're like, yes, that's what we're trying to understand. Is there variance? How much can we trust these numbers? And that's what's important to patients and their confidence to actually recommend cannabis, which is kind of the trick here. As an MD, you can't quite recommend it. There's other channels to do so, but that's what these doctors are on the forefront of. So essentially, it's just providing data showing ACIL has competent labs that are interested in providing the best for patients. The doctors would be an attraction, and Miko would help us write letters advertising our competence, being ACIL, as well as the doctor's background and pedigree, and send it out to these regulators and hoping to get them to attend. And I think we should go beyond even California and extend it to Colorado CDPHE. For instance, I know several of us are applying for Colorado, so if we want to have an opportunity to speak to them directly or to get them in California, maybe they'll even freaking show up and audit and we can get approved quicker. It could be a way for us to leverage that relationship of ACIL to get them in California and start moving quicker with our applications and allowing us to enter their market, which I know they're getting some pushback about allowing out-of-state labs, which they are allowing, but the state of Colorado is not a big fan of that. So that being said, it's just setting up a platform to attract industry, other brands. We could create vendors will come to this, I do believe, but the focus is healthcare. Instead of trying to create another cannabis, let's bitch about taxes and everything, it's more about let's focus on the patient and hopefully get the DCC's attention and then work on the other initiatives that we have. So that's the idea. I definitely have more details about how it may go down if people have questions about the organizational needs, but mostly for us, it's going to be an agreement to Miko's fee, as well as getting more data available and finding more high potency products to continue putting together more comparisons. That's really what our task would be. And then showing up or participating in a panel if you want to be on something or we want to create something where we actually speak or respond, whatever, that participation will also be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Antonio. Does anyone have questions about this and how it would be executed?
I have a comment, but I'll wait till the rest of the group. This is Mike.
I mean, round robin wise, MD wise, the intent, your involvement, all these things would be things to talk about now. We raise money. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so we're paying them as a consultant to do this for us, is that correct?
We're paying a consultant to organize and leverage the relationships to attract these doctors and MDs, and hopefully by paying, because otherwise you're going to be paying someone to try to get the regulators there, right? So part of this came from the fact that when you talk to these lobbying groups, everyone else, they want 10, 20K to bring together the same regulators that we all talk to in different settings anyway. So this is more about finding a different approach as well. So it's a very small fee compared to the other fees that I was given from other people that claim they can throw parties or whatever it may be. So it's more about the fees associated with getting the doctors committed and allowing their hospital networks, the things that they stand on pretty tall to be associated with cannabis. And it's more of a favor to Miko, who's definitely been leading this cause for them. So they're doing this as a favor to her. She does this as part of how she's navigated the industry over time through healthcare. This is what she does for a living, and she does it much more expensive than
What's the price on it?
$2K. And that'll be writing letters. That's a part of the lobbying effort. That's not, that's not a lot of, I mean, yeah, the rest of it's on us, right? We got to have the space and whatnot. But this is just for her time, relationships, and getting people to commit.
And we do have the funds for that within our current CA-CWG budget. So just in case anyone was wondering about that, we do have that.
And then future facing, Josh, just so you know, like I'm also trying to figure out how are we going to continue this, right? Like what are we going to do to start making funds easier so we're not, every year coming to, the wallet check for us. Like we should be getting the industry, we should be, I don't know, there's other ways to get this done, and we're just trying to get it started and build our name up to where we're not footing the cost as much when we want to actually make change like we're trying to. And then with that, this is also an opportunity to invite the other lobbying groups, right? People that are spending money to get them on our side and, hopefully use their resources too. It's just really a stage. You're trying to set a stage to get people to show up to and to take interest in what we're doing and what our mission is, which is what my understanding was, this testing and getting standardization and getting people to recognize that, hey, this is 6 points higher. This flower is pretty egregious. I mean, we haven't talked about it that much as a group, but it's anywhere from 4 to 6 percentage points higher. The label claim is in the group consensus. So it's just kind of like, I mean, I know that doesn't fail BCC rules, but is that what the patients are really expecting when they go to the store?
So
I have an ignorant question, Antonio. This is a good idea. I like the angle quite a bit, especially from the patient perspective, to get some engagement. I think that carries a lot of weight. My question is more about the new DCC. It appears to me, and it's very early on, that they're compartmentalizing the aspects of the DCC, meaning that they're compartmentalizing laboratory services with Gordon, at least in the interim, and as well as the dispensaries and everything kind of farther apart from each other is what it appears to me. My question kind of goes back to, so if we go down this angle of trying to use the doctors in order to bring visibility, and when the doctors start talking about patients and patient care, I agree with you, that gets a lot of attention from the regulators. Is there any belief or evidence, or do we think that this is going to bring across the laboratory services side of the DCC, which is whose really attention we want right now? I'm just worried that that bridge doesn't exist yet. I don't know though.
So my understanding is that we're going to ask Tamara who we should be speaking to and where this whole thing is headed, and then we're going to identify, who we should be lobbying to show up, and then once we identify who may have an opinion or a sway in it, we're going to start working on them, and maybe patient data is what they care about. But right now we're trying to generate someone to answer that question, at least a reason for Tamara to have to tell us what their current structure is and who our new contacts should be, because that's something we don't know at this point, from my understanding, unless Shannon's got an update that we haven't. I don't know exactly.
She has not she has not responded to me yet. I know she was out of the office for a little while at the beginning of the month, and I've reached out since she came back, and I haven't heard back from her yet.
And then if we have an event, we can always push on their PR team, other people who have to answer us, and they can, answer or at least guide us to maybe certain decision makers if we have to take that route.
So just to clarify, this event is the one off the ACIL meeting nationally in California. This is a subgroup of it, and it's going to be held at CA-CWG. Is that correct?
This would be the long meeting.
Yeah,
this long meeting on Tuesday, which is part of it would be a bigger group, so we would have more of our labs already in attendance for that annual meeting. And then this would be the cannabis working group, sort of the national group that would be meeting that morning, that Tuesday morning, and we're plugging in with that.
Where are we meeting at?
Excuse me?
Where is it at, the location? Not the city.
Oh gosh, Mike, what's the hotel? I had that written in the last one and I didn't write it in this one. It's a hotel. Where is it?
Excuse me. It's the Long Beach, what is it? Long Beach Hotel. I'll get it to you. The Hyatt, I believe, but hold on.
All right. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so Josh, I definitely think this would be better for the Long Beach location.
Sorry, it's the Hotel Maya in Long Beach.
Yeah.
I definitely think this is better because then you get the larger lab participation. They may be interested in it as well. They could be trying to support this cause if they're interested in entering this space at some point. And honestly, for me, I don't know how much interest we're going to get for a Valley location. If we go to CA-CWG or whatever, I don't know how much interest we're going to get.
That's why I thought you were saying to go to CA-CWG. That's why I was kind of confused.
No, I really want to make sure we have at least one event that we can really hang our hat on and promote and talk about. I think this is our best chance at it.
Yeah, I agree, but I think we're also having an internal meeting, which is completely separate from this, right?
Yeah,
We
be the
should
next
be.
day. Yeah, that would be the next day on Wednesday. We would do that at CA.
It doesn't have to be a Kansas. If y'all don't want to come to Kansas, we
No,
don't have to come to
yeah,
Kansas.
You said sorry, I'm just lost here. You said Kansas Safe has 2 locations, Antonio?
In regards to like, we have 2 different buildings, so like we have a space where we can host outside the laboratory. Is the only thing I was. So we
I
have
think you have like an office space for us to have a meeting at. That'd be perfect. Yeah,
correct.
cool.
That was the idea why the space was offered, but obviously if we don't have that many people that are interested in this or outsiders, I don't see a reason to drag y'all to Van Nuys to have a meeting. So it's just about, committing to whether we're going to go all out for Long Beach. We're going to try to do 2 major events. I'm really trying to get a commitment from the team about what we're doing here. Because for me, I'm trying to figure out how I can sell this for the next year of memberships and, however we're going to continue this cause and make some change. So I just want us, the group, to be on the same page. I don't want us to be a one person or one thought show. It should be everybody committed and agreeing to what our purpose is.
Absolutely.
So those are just
So
the
I
thoughts.
guess, yeah. So on the first question, I need, does anyone, first of all, have any other questions about Miko as far as the consultant and what she would be doing to help us out with the planning and organization of this meeting, of the panel meeting? Does anyone have any further questions? You feel like you're clear on that?
That or the data, the additional data, because I know that everybody on the call participated in this first round. So if anyone had questions about the data gathering, that'd also been an opportunity to talk about.
Sean to get his shit together. Sorry, Sean. And get this other thing.
I have an update on that too, guys, if you want it.
Right now, but
Yeah, so it's kind of public now. Ty's dealing with a medical issue right now, but he's doing fine, and so he should be fully recovered. That's been kind of part of this delay. I've been sort of monitoring with him and making sure that he's okay, which he's fine. But it looks like he should be clear mid-September. And me and him are still planning on the original plan that we all stuck to. 2 things on that are of concern of me, and I don't want to change the subject, but maybe we'll just load them up and we'll start answering questions one at a time. Is first of all, the Emerald test officially kicks off mid-September as well. So I don't know if we want to, compete, or if maybe there's a benefit to that. And then I already forget my second question. So I think that was kind of the big one.
so here's a question, just general. How many people that own labs out here are doing the Emerald test anymore? I stopped doing the Emerald test because how shitty it is.
I have no idea.
I stopped 2 years ago, so there's no, yeah. I prefer to compete, if anything.
Which ones are you doing? What other ones are you doing?
You can do individual PT tests from anyone. Same manufacturers, just that you don't do the Emerald ones.
Yeah, we just don't care for the Emerald badges.
Oh, yeah.
Any PT provider, you just have to complete all PTs per year period, and every 6 months you have to do at least 1 PT. So you can use anyone.
It's just not at relevant level, so we just never really liked it. And plus, they didn't understand it. When there was an issue, I had to deal with the manufacturer. It wasn't Emerald. Emerald punted it. So for us, when we had issues on reporting, because the BCC is like, oh, if you miss one analyte, you can't report. But it's like, this is literally a standard issue. It's not ours. So we had a big mess with them about 2 or 3 years ago that we've stopped ever since. Sean, I can't hear you,
So
Sean.
am I hearing that this group has no objections to? How about now? Can you hear me now?
No, I can't.
I got you. I got them. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear everybody. All right.
So, I mean, if anyone else has an objection, I have no objection to running it at the same time.
No.
All right.
All right.
I'm not going to do this any longer.
Then the next question, and maybe I'll do this by email, is I do want to reach out to a couple laboratories that are outside of this group to participate. If that's, it's just, I think we've all talked about this in the past, and just the more participation, the better. And maybe it brings visibility to this group. So I have some ideas. I'm sure the rest of the group does. Is there a good format for maybe suggesting other participants and kind of asking everyone's opinion?
Well, I thought we discussed in the past is every person is invited.
Every licensed lab in California then.
That has a license, not the people that don't have license.
So just go by the DCC's website right now. Okay, I'm fine with that.
of non-suspended, non-revoked.
Correct. So
Right.
how should we go about that, Shannon, Mike? I mean, should we draft a letter? Should we just start using our own internal personal networks? All of the above? What do you think?
I think ACIL doing it, yeah.
Yes, I do think that we need a letter from ACIL that would come, and then it would come from our ACIL, California Cannabis Working Group. But that could be something that we draft and then get out to you guys to distribute within your own networks, so that we can get broader participation on it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to go back. Zach, are you comfortable with this being a part of, because you're, the co-chair on that overall ACIL CWG group?
Yeah,
Are you comfortable?
Discussed that last time, so he said that we're good with doing that.
Have you gotten your schedule worked out for that? So when to place this in, or do you still need us to work that out? Because we have a lot.
Me or Zach?
I think we lost Zach. Actually, I'm just looking. Unless he's calling. I think we might have lost him. And he said he was traveling. So we can check in with him separately on that. But that was part of the conversation last time, was just getting the approval from our national co-chairs about doing this during that time frame, and it was good. I think it's going to be valuable content for anyone that's working with the cannabis working group nationally. So.
Hey Shannon, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, I'm completely on board with that, and I'm fine with it. So you have my approval at least. I don't know if you heard back from Augustine yet.
Not yet. Zach, has there been any kind of an agenda put together for that meeting that morning? I mean, is CANaSAFE going to, I'm sorry, not CANaSAFE, CannaLab going to be having any kind of meeting or sessions during that time frame on Tuesday morning?
I imagine there is going to be a discussion of CannaLab, but there isn't any formal agenda that I'm aware of that's been put together. So I didn't know if that's something that I was supposed to be working on. If it is, then I can work with Joe and the others to put something together, and I can show it to you afterwards.
Yeah. And we can find out for sure if that's the place where they would want to be discussing it. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be part of the conversation, just because it's been such a big area of focus for us this year. But we'll make sure to lock that down and figure out where we're putting everything now.
Yeah, Mike, I do know that there's a lot of people that weren't going to be able to make the meeting due to Delta concerns. I think Joe and perhaps Sean included. So they were wondering if there's any way we can set up some kind of a remote way to join the meeting and call in. I know that ACL probably wants everyone to show up, because then they'd probably generate some extra income from that. But given the fact that a lot of these people, especially from the East Coast, are going to be limited in that regard, do you think that's feasible or not?
Yeah, that's certainly something that I think we have to talk about. I don't think, as far as I know, Mike, I don't think that's anything that we've sort of discussed in detail with on the national level, but I think that we're going to have to. So thanks for bringing it up, and we'll look into the details of it.
Okay, great.
And then Mike, you had said earlier, when we were discussing the panel meeting, was that the question that you had in terms of where it was going to fit in the current cannabis working group meeting structure for that day?
That, and the other question was, or just a comment, that I think that we need to have some sort of boots on the ground, and having a consultant at the price that's been quoted, I think, is in our best interest to generate the kind of interest that we need. And we'll have to, so if we're all good with that, I think, let's just have a vote. We have the resources to do it. If anyone objects, because my only other concern for this call, and I don't want to I don't want to take over, your agenda, what you're willing to accomplish, but I also want to figure out what we're going to do the next day, as well. So on this topic, I will say that Shannon and I will have to address your concerns, Zach, on the virtual aspect of the meeting, because they are trying to get as many people in the room physically, understanding the whole Delta variant. Got it. So we'll have to work that out. My only concern for that is that, again, this is just a logistical side, talking on behalf of the National Association. If you open it up to one group, then the other sections are going to want it. So I have to be very mindful of that. So just let us navigate that with Richard and the board accordingly. Because remember, we have other sections that are meeting, environment, food, from the national perspective. And this is not just, a California thing, but I have to work through that. So just give us a little bit of leeway to decide that. But I would make the recommendation. We work for you on having a vote so we can get this consultant moving forward if this is direction we want to go into, so that we can move on to the next day's agenda.
All right, so if I could get a motion to accept Nico Perez as a consultant for our for the annual meeting panel. Okay.
I'll move that, Shannon. I make a motion that we hire the consultant, and then somebody should second it.
Love the effort, Swider. I always love a sweeter. Sorry.
All right, sweet. Putting Bruce in as a motion and Sweet or a second motion. All in favor?
Seconded.
Aye.
All right. Thumbs
Aye.
up. Any opposed? All right. So moved. And Antonio, I will circle back with you on the details for getting Nico going, and we'll get that moving ASAP. I think then the next question for the group, just so you know, like the order that we're going to go in. Let's go to Wednesday now, because this is the Tuesday national meeting with the panelists that we've been discussing, and who we're going to be inviting there. Actually, I did want to get an update. Bruce, I know you did get the agreement from Christine Sotelo.
Yeah. Let me update you all on that, Shannon. Thanks for the opening there. So Christine Sotelo, she's the leader of California's Environmental Lab Accreditation Program. Just to put it in perspective, I think cannabis labs, there's about 30. Her program is 750 labs. It's the biggest, governmental accreditation program in the country, run by California. And the idea here is that Christine owes ACIL. Well, it's a lousy way to talk about it. ACIL helped Christine's program a lot. And she feels willing to help us in our needs to do outreach with the laboratory folks within BCC. So it does suit her agenda quite nicely to talk to the environmental labs, because they are a huge constituent of her program. So she's agreed to talk, for about 30 minutes or so about all the things she expects environmental labs on the commercial side to do for her program. But while she's there at that meeting, we could bring her into some closed door meetings with some of the other folks, and that was that was my reason to invite her, and then that way she'd be down there and available if we want to arrange secondary meetings. So it's kind of all up to you guys, really. Just to end the framing here, it's quite appropriate that she talks to all the environmental labs and doesn't talk at all to the cannabis folks. But gosh, it's such a great opportunity. I thought we'd bring the two of them together and see what we could get done. So that was what I did. And she'll come and talk about the future of environmental labs and that type of thing. It'd be very interesting for some of you folks to get to meet her, because, as I said, she's quite influential inside California politics or these laboratory issues. So that'd be the general idea here, just teeing it up. And if we could find some way to get the DCC people and Christine together, That's fundamentally what I'm trying to set up. So I'll throw that out for discussion among the group and see what different ideas we can have for trying to make a date here, boys.
I think that's the entire pitch, by the way, for this thing is we use Miko to draft a letter with all this included. So I think that's the carrot. I just don't know if we do it all in one day. If we try to break it up, I don't know. The easiest I know with cannabis, if you can have everyone same day coming in from maybe a few different sections, that'd be the easiest. But you know, obviously Wednesday we got to figure it out.
So I think a closed door meeting with the ACIL cannabis section with her would be potentially enlightening on what we're trying to accomplish here, and the fact that the regulators are not caring or listening and what we can do to incentivize them. Maybe that's a good angle. We can just have a conversation, even if it's open-ended, to explain what problems we've seen in the industry and how she's solved them in the environmental industry, or any tips that she has or downfalls that we're potentially doing. I think something like that in-person meeting would be the most beneficial for this group.
Josh, great suggestion. It hadn't occurred to me that way, because my way of looking at it was we get the DCC people and Christine together. But that's a great. I think that meeting can actually happen. That's
even if we do that one preemptively, talk to her, not to preempt the questions, but then later that day or the next day you're doing it with everyone, then she understands our problems and where we're coming from and not coming in blind. Or we invite her to a pre-call right now, or another call where we're on Zoom and do this, just so she's up to speed. Well, she could be like, oh, the same thing happened in environmental. We have no clue what to do. I'm sure that's not the case, but we can kind of just update her what we're saying, and the DCC, then we try to get everyone in the room, which would be the best. But I just think we need some kind of chance and time to discuss the current space in the cannabis industry with her.
I think that'd be great, Josh. Just to be clear, there isn't anything there's no aspect of mud, blood, or beer that we didn't go through with her. So we know what she went through, and what we're trying to do, what we did with environmental is exactly what we're trying to do with DCC, which is to get the state aboard working with us. But I think we could do that.
All right, any other questions on that front?
So do we then have that, I guess the question is and again, defer to Zach as he's the co-chair, do we have that discussion on Tuesday, or do we have that discussion on Wednesday?
Oh, Mike, I think I could go directly to the answer to this one. Whatever day the environmental section has their meeting, Christine will address the environmental section on that day. That day, if it's a Tuesday or Wednesday, that's the day where we set up this meeting with all of the all the ACIL California cannabis laboratories. We set that meeting up, for the day of the environmental section meeting.
Right. So if that is true, then that would be on Tuesday. So the overall cannabis, this is from the National Association. The National Association on Tuesday meets 8 to 12 with the Cannabis Working Group, 8 to 12 in the morning. And then there's the environmental sections that afternoon from 1 to 5. So then we would have to have that. Then we would do that on Tuesday. Maybe what we do, just in the interest of her time, is put her towards the back end of the cannabis meeting, say like that 11 to 12 window. She stays for lunch and then she addresses, but we have to work with the environmental section early so we're not wasting her time. But again, that would be on that Tuesday. And is that okay with you, Zach? Again, I'm just trying to follow protocol here because you're the co-chair.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
All right.
And then the next thing, just to pony on that, Mike, would be on Wednesday when we have whatever meetings we have off-site, then that would be the times when we would set up the meetings between Christine and the DCC people, if we can get them together.
Okay.
Well, if we have any DCC folks on site on that Tuesday, which hopefully we will, we could also set some of that up so that she doesn't have to go back and forth. So
correct.
That remains to be seen.
Right. But Christine has Southern California facilities and operations within ELAP. I think their Southern California facilities in Pasadena or Glendora, someplace like that. And, so she would be able to make a meeting with her folks down in Southern California and then blast across some other place. But, rather keep that down to a minimum.
Right, exactly. Make it as easy as possible. So, okay. I know there were a couple of other individuals that we had talked about from the breakdown within the new Department of Cannabis Control. And I know some, I think Sean and Josh had some personal connections with some of those. Have you guys been able to make any contact with them and get any more info? Any connections there yet?
So as far as mine would have been the testing lab that's going to test everyone that was funded.
Mm-hmm.
So CSD got $17 million over the testing lab, and the professor's heading it up in a group, but they're not allowed to play with us. That was kind of what they're saying.
Really?
Because then it becomes fun. I even tried to get them to come over to give a tour of our lab, and they can't right now. So as far as that would have been probably the best connection in my opinion, but I could tell you every instrument they bought. But other things that are going on with them, as far as everyone else, I think the DCC is kind of spread out, but I think stuff's moving faster. I don't know if anyone else has any insight on that, but I can say people are answering questions faster and getting things done. I don't know if that's just because they're trying to keep their job or something.
I have a open dialogue with Gordon right now.
Oh, good. You stopped.
Because we're co-authoring a paper. Is it better?
Start over.
It goes in and out, Sean.
Let me see if it's a band. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any better? Okay, so maybe it's
Yes.
my internet. I do have an open dialogue with Gordon right now for another reason. We're writing something together as part of a larger group. But I've not brought this up to him because during our last meeting, I think Zach, you said that you had a relationship with Gordon and you were going to reach out. Was I mistaken?
We have spoken to Gordon before, but I don't remember mentioning that. But it's been multiple years since I've talked to him, so I can try to reach out to him, but maybe it'd be better if he could.
No, yeah, I have a weekly meeting with him, so I will reach out to him offline and see and introduce this group and see if I can get him engaged or on what level. It may be better coming from me, not a laboratory anyway. So I'll do that, Shannon. I'll take that action.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. And what about Nicole Elliott? We had spoken about her. And I think that last call, I might have gotten it mixed up who was talking to who. But Josh Werzer, was there anyone there that you were familiar with that you were going to reach out to? Josh Werzer, are you still there? He did say he was going to be in and out too. So this might be one of the outs. So, okay. So yeah, and I let you guys know so far I have not heard back from Tamara Colson because I had reached out to her just requesting some input from her on who we should be talking to at the new department since she had been friendly with us before. So we'll just we'll keep trying on that front as well. So I think that's it on that Tuesday meeting. For the Wednesday meeting, is the plan there to make that a little bit more just the California Cannabis Working Group meeting, and we keep that at the CANASAFE offices where they have the space available for us all to meet together. Does anyone have any issues with that or any comments on conducting a meeting that is just restricted to our California group that day?
My question would be, if we're just gonna do it just an internal meeting, there's probably better places that are better located. Maybe I can search around for LA as well, but I don't see a reason to bring everyone to the Valley up here if we're not gonna have other people, outsiders, show up as well. But that's just my opinion. Well, I'm local here, so it doesn't matter to me. But I just figured for ease, yeah.
I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that we wouldn't have outsiders there. I'm just talking about in terms of who the core, who the core group for that meeting on Wednesday would be. And my anticipation there would be that our core group is our California Cannabis Working Group, and then we could work on filling in whatever DCC staff or regulators or whoever that we would want to tie in on a meeting that day. So what are our thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that meeting, just so you know, again, just in terms of timing, that would be on Wednesday after lunch. So that would be a 1 o'clock. We could do it mid-morning. We could do it around lunchtime if we wanted to, but it really would be during, for those who are participating from the national, for the overall conference, that's the golf outing that afternoon. So that golf outing starts around 1 o'clock and goes to 6. So so we would really look to the mid-morning to afternoon. And then the hope was that we were thinking of, doing a fundraiser as well for the actual CWG California. So, is that still our intent here or what?
Well, I'd like to get more feedback on the meeting itself and what we want to do with that for moving on to the fundraiser. So,
right. Well, I was only mentioning that because if we're going to do it at a closer location, that's just something else to be considered. That's all.
Right.
I'll just for the sake of chiming in and echoing something I've shared earlier, I'm, as a former Angelino, not currently, but I can tell you that it is going to be a logistical challenge to get people from Long Beach up to Van Nuys. It may look close on a map. They are not close to each other. So
right.
I do kind of share his concern. I'm not saying that it's just an obstacle. And so to the related point that I think Mike just had, I think the content and the reason behind that meeting sort of matters in terms of getting people engaged and getting people willing to make that trek. That being said, though, as we kind of talked about before, I appreciate Antonio's hospitality, and I would love to go to CANASAFE as I've never been there, but there may be other options.
Yeah, no, that's the point I was trying to make, Sean. Yeah. That's my whole point.
Yeah. Me and you are on the same page about that drive. I mean, the 405 after 2 o'clock is no joke, even during COVID times. That might be, what do you think, Antonio? That might be 2 hours, right?
No, it very well could be. No, it very well could be. No, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we're focused on fundraising, I do think we could potentially raise a lot of attention with the doctors. I just don't know if we want to do a continuation of something in a different location to try to raise money at, because I mean, right now the lab itself isn't gonna raise money. Like, where are we gonna pull the money from besides ourselves is what I'm kind of getting to. So if we're having a fundraiser, Van Nuys is far away, but I think there could be other ways to potentially even collaborate with another industry group. Like, say for instance, it goes really well with the attention for the Tuesday event. What if all of a sudden we can decide we find someone willing locally that'll host something else in the area for us? It could be the Long Beach Association. There could be all kind of different other people there. I mean, God, is Bill Cox on the call? Myron, excuse me. Myron, that's something that
we already talked about that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Myron potentially could find, maybe not his lab, but somewhere else where there's other people that we can gather, talk about this data that we're putting together, even tease a more in-depth conversation with just us. If you want to come talk to the labs themselves, there's all things we could tease, but I do think Van Nuys puts us behind the 8 ball. And even with Lucid Green, I think there's potential there to incorporate some of the things that they do in their brands that they work with. So I think it's just, I would want to open up the conversation beyond a CANASAFE visit at Van Nuys, to Sean's point. Is my only thing I'm trying to get across.
I think closer the better. Let's just go with that. Yeah.
So let me ask this. When Antonio and I had discussed the distance before, and even though we're talking about like Tuesday and Wednesday, we're talking about 2 different days. I guess I don't have a sense from everyone yet at this point how many of you are planning on being in Long Beach for this meeting, on whether you're participating in the full ACIL annual meeting, or whether you're just planning on coming in Tuesday morning. And I won't take the time to go through everyone now, but if I could just ask everyone to sort of give me some feedback on whether you are planning to be there, and which days you definitely can or cannot participate in, then that will help me get a better idea of how we need to pull this all together. Because I guess my initial thinking was, if we were doing this sort of as a separate thing in Van Nuys on Wednesday, that it really wouldn't be dependent on what's going on in Long Beach, because we wouldn't be pulling a whole lot of people from Long Beach, unless we've got a lot of folks from our California Cannabis Group that are going to be participating in both places. So if that makes sense, I would appreciate some feedback from you guys on who will be able to participate there. And then maybe that
too. Do we have, Josh, do we have a member, or are we all just, do we just need to buy those tickets, or are those tickets we already have access, or?
If you're attending the rest, of the annual, if you're participating in the full annual meeting, then it would be the member rate to participate for that. If you're just coming in for that Tuesday California Cannabis, I'm sorry, the National California National Cannabis Working Group meeting. Sorry about that. If you're coming in just for that on Tuesday morning, then there's not going to be an additional charge for that. We did speak to Richard about that, and he said if it's just for that meeting, then for the California Cannabis Working Group, there will be no additional charge. If you're participating in the full set of meetings that week for the ACIL annual meeting, then it's the member rate. So maybe what we can do is once we get a little bit better sense of who's going to be there on which days, then we can make a final determination on Wednesday and what it's going to look like. But I think all this is probably going to come together a little bit more as we put the pieces in place for that Tuesday meeting, and then decide where we want to go with Wednesday. That sounds like it works to everyone.
Yeah, the challenge, real quick, the challenge here is to extend out Tuesday. Shannon and I are not available because we have responsibilities that Tuesday and no section meetings. So that's why we look to the Wednesday. So we will not be wearing cannabis hats on that Tuesday afternoon. So that's why, you have the 9 to 12 window. But once we get done lunch, there are other section meetings that we need to handle that have nothing to do with this subject. So that's why we're looking to that Wednesday afternoon. So just bear that in mind, not trying to be difficult, but just understanding the process there.
So more or less, though, to participate, we need to be in LA for Tuesday and Wednesday to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Correct.
That is correct.
Correct.
Antonio, how many extra beds do you have, though?
Yeah.
You can bump up, man. Come on.
Okay, we're coming up on an hour, so I want to be conscious of all your time. Antonio, do you feel like, and I guess Sean and Josh, who are I think probably the most involved in the round robin activities, do we need to hit on that anymore before we let everyone go today?
I don't think so, at least from my side. I just need to Ty and I, with the help of Josh Sweeter and Antonio and everybody, have a plan. We just need to put a timeline on that plan. I'll work on that with Ty to put together specifics. We have not decided on the final laboratory location, but we do have 3 targets. So I'll regroup with those 3 people and get back to it. But from my side, I don't need anything from this group other than I appreciate your guys' patience while Ty handles some personal business.
So can we put a hard date on this too, so then we can start moving on, sending out a letter and stuff like that?
Well, let's back this up, because I don't think, the way I understand what Sean said, we're not going to have this round robin portion done before the meeting. Period. Because if we don't start this till mid-September, the meeting is when, Shannon?
October 11th.
October.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to try to push this, or do we want to continue buying high potency things ourselves and doing our original function there? Sweeter, what's your thoughts there? Because you were the big
I think we should get this done because I think this was past due already a month or two. So this should be pushed as soon as possible. If it fits the agenda into the ACIL meeting, then it does. But if it doesn't, we should still run this independently.
No, it definitely fits the agenda. I just didn't know if we have actual logical time. I mean, I didn't want to push Ty with medical emergency beyond what we can do. So I guess what we can do is try to run parallel by pushing with Sean and Ty, and then maybe.
I wasn't saying, Sean, get this done tomorrow. I said, can we just get it on a timeline? If it's December 25th and you're going to come over for Christmas, that's fine. Just let us know.
Got it.
And again, I don't want to put words in Ty's mouth while he's dealing with something, but I do think that we could have if we do this, so the week that I have blocked out per Ty's input is the week starting on Monday, September 13th. I believe if we get those samples out, because again, the scope of that is only to do potency and pests, we could at least have preliminary data by this meeting. It might be preliminary, but we would have preliminary.
It doesn't need to be no month cutoff. You can do a 2 week or a 1 week cutoff.
Right.
You don't have to no month. It takes you a month to run a sample. Don't do this test anyways.
Yeah, well, that could be part of the feedback. Honestly, no, it could be part of the feedback if people are taking that long. But no, I think that'd be great. Even if it is preliminary, we can discuss it. There's the NIST data out there as well. If maybe we could even invite someone from NIST that may want to come talk. We participated in that. But Shannon, what I would say is that I would say Sean and Sweeter can take charge on that official round robin. I think all the labs should be responsible for identifying any high potency products if they know of any clients, and we can maybe pull some more of that. So I think we should all be shopping for that. And then I can take charge with working together with Miko and you and Mike on planning that Tuesday morning. But then finally, I would say Wednesday, fundraising wise, the whole group needs to commit to something. And that's why I don't think we've come to a good one. I don't know if Myron should be point in that one because it's in his neighborhood or not, but I haven't heard anything for Wednesday that's actually going to be able to call a fundraiser that we're going to have anyone, be interested in coming to besides ourselves. So that's where I'm lost.
Supposed to be on this call? I don't know.
What was that?
Was Myron supposed to be on this call?
No, Myron had not told me he was going to be on this one, but he's we can always reach out to him. What were you thinking about?
I think, Antonio, you're 100% right. Myron's right there. If it was in San Diego, I would take charge and get this done. He's right there. Let him go ahead and figure it out for us. He's part of this rest of us.
That's what I would say, just because we're all in this thing together. So, but I would want to make sure he accepted that task first.
He said yes before.
Yeah, just tell him that he was unanimously agreed to, that he has to take charge of it, and that's it. So we'll just give him that chance.
Yeah, lucky you, Myron. Myron had I don't know if you guys remember, but when we had discussed I think this was our last meeting, it might have been the one before, but he had offered to help out and offered his labs there since he is he close to Long Beach or is he in Long Beach? He's in Long Beach. Okay, all right. He had offered before, so so I can reach out to him and see. We're talking now. Are we talking about a meeting, or are we talking about input on a fundraiser, or both?
The location, I think that's the biggest thing.
I mean, I think locations first, but I think we have to have our meeting, and then if we need to fundraise, or if we want to at least talk about fundraising there, I don't know. But obviously, Mike, I would love your comment. We got to start planning for next year's and how we're going to continue.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we got people there. We're in the cannabis capital of the world. If we're not doing a fundraiser in California, we are fooling ourselves. So let's just, again, not to commandeer this. I'm not worried about the time right now, but we're having a fundraiser. Unless anybody objects. If you're going to raise money, this is the place to raise it. So let's just have the fundraiser. Maybe we can work with the consultant. I know we have other people with all of our collective resources. Let's do an event that afternoon. Could be a beer tasting or whatever. We'll work with Myron to find a proper location that's within, earshot of the hotel, and we'll plan for an afternoon meeting prior to the fundraiser. We thought maybe a lab tour, but you're in the business. We don't need to tour your labs. You know how to, you know, unless you think there's an amazing lab there to go see. But, you know, in the interest of time for right now, I think let's just plan for the meeting. We'll work out the agenda, Shannon and I. It'll probably be around lunchtime. And then right after that meeting, we'll allow for a time to do the fundraiser. We'll put the fundraiser together. We'll work with Myron to find a proper venue, and we will get the word out to as many of our contacts, and we'll call upon you to help us with that as well. But it would be foolish for us to miss that opportunity, to not do that. That is my strong opinion, unless anyone else objects.
Makes sense to me. Let's just plan it out.
Go with it.
You know, even if we just a few bucks, you know, just a few bucks. But if we're going to do it, you know, I get it. Doing a fundraiser for cannabis, say in Wyoming, maybe not the best. You know, beyond the buffalo and the bison showing up, you know, with all due respect, and their evergreens, you know, so be it. But if we're going to do it, we're going to do it there. It's kind of like, you know, I did a similar thing for the mushroom industry in Pennsylvania. Mushrooms are the capital of the world, is in Pennsylvania. You know, we raised money. It was like low-hanging fruit. It was so easy. Boom. And that's for another client another day. So if we can't do that for cannabis, then then what's the whole purpose of this entire group? So that's just, I'm trying to keep it simple on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern time.
So I would love more input from you, Mike, personally, because I think for us, we're more lab people are different focus. So if you could just give us some insight to what we need to do to make that successful, then we'd all be the same confident level you are at.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you know, it's really just a cover price, right? So is it $150 everybody pays? You know, you have a beer tasting. You know, Shannon and I can work that out. But I'm not looking, you know, we get a couple sponsors, but we just raise, you know, a couple $1,000, and then we put that in petty cash to pay for these consultants or pay for round robin. So, you know, and again, to get the word out, you know, that's really what we're trying to do here, I would think.
Understood.
Is everybody good with that? I don't mean to strong arm, but that's kind of my thought process. And, you know, Shannon's a fundraiser, so she knows what she needs to do. But again, that's my thought. If we're going to do it, it would be a light event afterwards, just to commiserate with one another, if you're all good with that. Does anyone raise an objection to that? All right, hearing none, then that's what we'll do that afternoon. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, if there's anything else, Antonio, was there anything else that you think that we need to cover just based on what we've discussed over the last few weeks? Josh, Sean, anyone?
Yeah, things gonna take this effort. So I think you should maybe send an email out pointing some top people or some point people for each topic and let them go at it, and we'll hold everybody accountable amongst the leadership table. I mean, okay. I did want to hear, I know I saw Matt and Mike were on, I mean, and David, I mean, you guys have any comments about the round robin? I know your last weren't in it the first time. Y'all have any comments about that data or how it happened, or I don't know, the results that are in the meeting notes?
I mean, for me personally, I did have some questions. I mean, it was a little, yeah. I mean, basically, I had some questions, but we can definitely take it offline.
Shoot! Please, everybody here, please just talk about it together.
Okay, because I was late to the meeting, so I do apologize if you know I did miss something. But the other thing was, I mean, which labs participated in this? I didn't get quite the synopsis of where this all came from and what it stemmed from, so I didn't want to go backwards too far. But
I mean, I don't know. Josh may have a longer version, but I'll go short. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Josh. I see you. I see you. Go ahead.
It was stemmed from a phone call we had about getting something kicked off. I believe you were there, but maybe not. I don't think you were on that call.
It was about Encore. We'll just call it what it is. We're focused on Encore. We're all hearing some pretty shady shit coming from that lab.
Right.
And we were trying to find a product they had tested.
We went and bought product off the shelf. Flour.
That had Encore's name on it. Is that the idea?
Yeah, had that name on it, and then bought it off the shelf, divided it up to Bel Costa, Zach, Antonio, Bel Costa, and Josh. Okay. Pretty much I took the sample, bought 2 ounces of flour, divided it up into half and half, homogenized the flour, because everyone always says, oh, flour has so much deviation if you don't homogenize it appropriately. So we got flour and homogenized flour. The results came back pretty much the exact same. Correct. And then we also sent out distillate. And we were hoping to add pesticides or something in it, but no pesticides. Anyone could detect pesticides or anything else. The really biggest thing was potency. It seemed like most of the group had low values, and then one than the higher values always with all of it. It showed some pretty high values. I believe the biggest thing was the label claim. I think on the package said 95% THC or something like that, and we're getting the 80s, low 80s. So it's well over a 10%, 15% deviation. It's not real. An Encore showed like a 90% THC, and the person labeled it 95. You get what I'm saying? So it's all this just puffing up, and we just went ahead and we wanted to see we were all in the same ballpark too. Because what if everyone said 95? But I mean, I don't know. I think most of the results showed a pretty large deviation with that.
Yeah, from the label claim. Like that's definitely what we wanted to get safety in there, but it was all happened to be clean. Obviously, if we have people that we know have unsafe product on the shelf, that would be ideal to get attention. But Matt, it was just mostly, hey, let's get some data out there. We're all mad at this lab. Let's see if it's obvious. And only 2 samples, to Josh's point, but it did kind of put us all in a very a closer group. If you will see, we're all close.
We want to make sure we trust each other too. That we're all doing the same shit.
Yeah, we want this.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
So the question, so when we talked a few minutes ago about inviting all these, anybody who's now a licensed cannabis lab in California, that means we're inviting Encore as well. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, we definitely would like to have their data.
We just wanted to grab some stuff off the shelf that we thought might have some high inflated potencies to see if it's not matching. And the common consensus in Southern California from my clients as well as anyone else's clients is if you want 10% higher results on points, not relative, you go there. And that's what we showed.
We've got our own battle up here in the north, that we're.
So that's what me and Antonio and everyone who talked about it. I think the better approach to this is first try. We just got it done real quick. Is if anyone thinks they have samples that are dirty on the shelves or anything like that, you go buy one vape pen, right? And then you test it yourself. You find there's pesticides in it, and the potency is way off, or potency spot on, but there's pesticides in it, and there's a problem. Then you go back. Then that's your preliminary check. Why do that? Well, that costs $50. I spent a couple $1,000 doing this little test. Why? Because I have to go pay store prices, so it's all legal. So buy it off the shelf, buy one. If you find it's dirty, go back, contact the group, throw it in there. We'll go ahead and we'll create, we have a dirty pesticide sample being sold on the shelf. Go buy every one you can from that store. We'll subdivide it up to all the groups, send out the pens to everyone. Everyone does extraction. We create a data package, send it to the Bureau of Cannabis Control. I mean, if they're going to deny, and we all create data packages with it saying, here's the marks, instruments, here's everything. Oh, everyone shows this pesticide in it, but yet the state has failed to see it. That's what we want to do. Yeah, sometimes these guys change, or we're just going to sit here and fucking lose all our clients to people that don't see pesticides and give these inflated results. So more or less, we were waiting for the Sean thing to happen and everything else up. But sometime, if we really want to get this done, I think that's the only way of doing it, is proving this dirty product and such elevated potency results on the shelves that they have to take action. And if they don't, then we make it public.
Yes, Matt, that is the long version I was telling you about.
Sorry.
No. I appreciate the narrative because I must have missed this. I definitely missed it. I apologize.
It was definitely taken offline in a little bit smaller group just to try to get it done and try to get. It was really meant for a nugget for the whole group to say, yes, this needs to continue or not, because Sweeter's time and involvement and money was quite high, and we wanted to at least get something rolling and not continue to be held up by either material or no one making a move. So.
Right. Well, and it eventually gets to the point where the DCC can't ignore it, and if we just keep
precisely
package after package after package, what I also want to make sure doesn't also what happens to us up here, we're dealing with the lab to our neighbor, is that they just keep getting away with it, and we just are looking like a bunch of idiots because we keep bringing attention to DCC, and the DC says, well, we found nothing. It's like, ugh. And then our customers get wind of it, and then our customers that we had now are potential customers we're trying to obtain say, well, you guys are just a bunch of narcs. And because the DCC did something very stupid where we called it out, said this is not appropriate. We took over the account, and we're like, the customer didn't like us because we're trying to make them compliant with the poll. And so we raised the red flag because they refused to work with us and went back to the other lab. And they did their investigation, and they literally called out and said, Two River Labs called this in. And I was like, and so that customer literally ripped us apart and told everybody around us. And so we lost that customer along with some other customers because they looked at us as like we're the narc.
Wow, that's irresponsible. I mean, hell, you can sue. That's just.
I wish I could have got them on record to say it because I was like,
knowing what they told me last year, I know that's probably 100% true. So I'm not even doubting.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know it is, because but that's why we want to capture them as well in this evaluation and show, yeah, like, look who tested it. You know, don't we're not going to tell you, but you can see who tested the product to begin with, and compare what we got. So, but yeah, but that was the big idea, Matt, and we want to do more. So if you have clients like that, and then at this point, to me and Sweeter's point, where the legacy labs are going to lose because all these new labs keep coming in doing the same thing over again. Like, I got new labs doing all this crap over again.
This is what it feels like. It's like almost every month is like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, that's pretty much how
that's why we didn't try to exclude anyone in this group. We just try to press fast forward as quick as we can. The goal is to have it out in a week, and it still took us 3 weeks.
Okay. Well, I know we did a little round robin between us, Belcosta, David, and then I know Antonio, you weren't perfectly part of it, but you worked with like Essence of Humboldt up in the north.
Yeah, late, but I can't give follow up on how the data looked. That's something I would love to know if you know.
I've been committed to that. That's why I'm gonna share all that information. And we were just from a very fast synopsis, we were all in alignment. So that's cool. The good news. We were off by, a little margins here there, but we all detected the exact same pesticides. We all would have failed the exact same product and passed the same exact product.
I think that's something we should advertise. ACIL should put together material talking about that. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't be telling people that it's possible, that lab variance isn't that crazy if you're not trying to cheat. like yeah, there is variance, but it's actually pretty.
Yep, and I think a lot of it comes down to that, just that category 1 stuff. That's what they just need to tighten that up, because these LOD is what's messing everybody up.
Well, we just failed a retest from another lab. Somebody's product expired. We retested. We got the retest, and we failed it for Cat 1. But if we used the LOD from the first lab, it would have passed because it was so much higher.
That's what gets us there every time. And then they yell at you, and they think, because they think ND is 0, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the education piece too. Like, it'd be worth our time also to probably at one of these events we do is to educate people on what this stuff means. I mean, there's no reason why we should have the consumers and people realizing how they're getting. They think it's the same information, and it really isn't. I think that'd be a piece of this as well, is to come up with something to say all these labs agree that your lab should be doing this, or you should be aware of how to vet a lab. So we should be telling people how to vet a lab and be willing to be scrutinized under our own scope, or whatever you want to call it, our own checklist. Which is what the round robin is supposed to be, so we're not scared to be criticized. So. Yeah, I love that you've done it. I love to hear about that, about the pesticide study. I've been curious about it for months, so I'm glad to know that nothing was alarming there. But yeah, I would love to promote some of this stuff at the event. Let's talk about this pesticide. Let's talk about these label claim issues.
Well, I'll commit to sending that information to you, to Antonio, today, so you can only see what the results were for everybody.
Awesome.
We'll get that done. And yeah, I mean, me and Michael both look forward to seeing everybody in October. So.
Fantastic.
Any other questions? David, you've been quiet. I appreciate that. Matt, you David? I mean, I don't want to be the only one talking. I hate always being the one. And Kansas State's always the fucking one that gets their head knocked off.
Sorry.
Help me out. Y'all gotta help me out, man.
Put myself on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Lunchtime.
Thank you so much for hopping on today. I think we're moving all in the right direction. So I'll be touching bases with some of you individually, and please reach out to me if there's anything you want to make sure that we're coordinating with the group. So
thank you
all for being here.
Just so you know, Sharon, Myron's expecting your call, or I told him to call you already.
Did he? Okay. All right. I'll give him a call.